Okay, well, welcome to Lesson 6.1 in Chapter 6, and so you see that we've got a new theme that Jack and I picked out, and I've got two volunteers here to help me with the video. So I've from 7th grade Pre-Algebra, we've got Jack, and from 6th grade, we've got Molly and McClay. So they're going to help me, and we're going to talk. Say hi, guys.
Hi.
We're going to talk about ratios. I guess I should put an S in there. We're going to talk about ratios and unit rates. Okay, so let's start out with ratio. Okay, look at the first 5 letters of that. Well, actually, it is a 5-letter word. It's just forget the S. Okay, what's another name for a ratio? What do we mean by ratio? Yeah, it's basically a fraction. It's when we're comparing one thing to another. Now, there is a slight difference between ratios and fractions. Fractions are one of the ways we can write ratios, but when we do a fraction, usually a fraction is a part out of a total, right? Okay, so the top is the part and the bottom is the total. It's how many pieces we have total. With a ratio, that's not necessarily the case. We're comparing two different things. Like we might be comparing boys in a class to girls in a class. Or we might be comparing one part of the whole to the other part of the whole. Okay, so whereas fractions tend to be part out of a whole, ratios look just like fractions. We write them the same way. All the same stuff we can do with fractions, like getting common denominators and multiplying and dividing them, all works, okay? But what they actually represent is a little different. So let's go over the definitions we're going to need for this chapter, okay? First of all, the definition of ratio, it's just comparison of any two things, okay? Any two quantities, when we compare them with division, it's called a ratio. Okay, so it's a comparison of two things by dividing. All right, some examples. Suppose we did the example where, let's say there are 8 people in my room at break, and 3 of them are boys and 5 of them are girls. Okay, so the ratio of boys to girls is 3 to 5. Notice how I said that. Notice I said it a little different than I normally would. If it was a fraction, I probably would have said 3 out of 5. In fact, the fraction of the people in my room that were boys was 3 out of a total of 8 people, right? But if I compare the boys to the girls, now it's part compared to part, and so I say 2 in the middle. So 3 to 5. I can also write it with a colon, 3 to 5, or actually I could write the word out, TO, 3 to 5. Okay, so that's what a ratio is. Now, a rate, okay, don't get confused because they both start with the same 3 letters. A rate is a ratio. It's a special kind of ratio, though. It's not where we're comparing boys or girls or just any two numbers. It's specifically we're comparing one kind of unit to another. So like inches per foot or dollars per gallon, but they've got to be units, some kind of unit that we label, things like inches and feet and pounds and dollars and things like that, okay? And then finally, we have a special kind of, so a rate is a special kind of ratio. We also have this thing called a unit rate, and a unit rate is a special kind of rate where the bottom has been reduced to 1. And unit rates are really handy for figuring out how much one of something costs. So in the example above, where it was $10 for 3 gallons of, let's say it's gas. That's about what gas is running right now.
Yeah.
So that would mean that 1 gallon of gas, if I was just going to fill up enough for my lawnmower, would be whatever a third of 10 is, which is like $3.33.
I'd say so, probably.
Yeah, it'd actually round up to $3.34, but that's the idea. Okay, so we can reduce a regular rate to a unit rate by making the bottom equal to 1. Okay, so those are your big 3 definitions: ratio, rate, and unit rate. Okay, and so what we're going to do in this lesson, in class, is we're going to practice. So let's take a couple examples. Let's say that I did a quick survey, and let's say I surveyed 100 people in high school as to whether or not they had a job. Okay, and so let's say 40 have a job, okay, which means 60 don't, and that would add up to a total of 100, right? Yeah. Okay, so let's take a look at what we can do. Okay, let me just erase that because that's just coming out really sloppy. Okay. All right, so what would the ratio be of students that have jobs to the ones that don't have jobs? Okay, so the ratio would be 40 people don't have jobs to 60, so we write it as a fraction. And what is 40 over 60 reduced to?
4/6.
Yeah, take a 10 off. Good job, Jack. You get 4/6, and they're both even, so that reduces to?
2/3.
2/3, and we say 2 to 3. So the ratio of people with jobs to the people who don't have jobs would be 2 to 3. So for every 2 people that have a job, there are 3 people who don't. So there's a slight majority of people that don't have jobs. Okay. What if we do a ratio of how many people have jobs to the total number of people? Well, now the ratio for that one would be 40 to 100. This is actually more like a regular fraction. That would reduce to 4 to 10, which reduces to 2 to 5. And so now the 2 represents the people with jobs, and the 5 represents the total number of people that we're talking about. Okay? Now, something kind of interesting. Take the one that we did the first time. If the ratio of people that have a job, so this let's go back to the 2/3. So the 2/3 is jobs to the ones that don't. Okay. If I want to reverse the ratio, I can just flip it upside down, right? So if instead I want to do a ratio of those that don't have a job that are still looking for jobs to the ones that already found a job, I just reverse the fraction. The ratio flips upside down. Okay. Now let's talk about rates. All right. So we did an example on that first screen. We had an example where it cost $10 for 3 gallons of gasoline. Okay, that is a rate because it's 1 unit dollars to another unit gallons. Okay, if I want to reduce this to a unit rate, what I need to do is reduce the bottom to 1. So instead of 3 gallons, I want 1 gallon. Well, what do I have to do to change 3 into 1? Now remember, when we change fractions, what can we do to the top and bottom? We can't add or subtract, can we? But we can multiply and divide.
Yeah.
Right? So what do I have to do to change 3 into 1?
Divide
by 3, right?
Divide by 3, yeah.
So what do we do to the top? We divide by 3.
Yeah.
And if I divide $10 by 3, we're going to get 3.33 and 1/3 dollars.
That seems correct.
And that is correct. And now in real life, we've learned that we always round money up when even if it's less than a half. So that would actually be $3.34 per gallon, and that's changing a rate into a unit rate. Okay, let's do one more like that. Let's say that we go. We ride our bikes, and let's say we ride our bikes 40 miles in let's say 2 hours. Okay, what would the unit rate be here? Well, I want to reduce the bottom. I don't want 2 hours. I don't want how much.
You could reduce them out by 2.
So divide by 2, and I'm going to reduce to 1 hour.
20 over 1.
And I reduce the top the same way. I divide by 2, and I get 20 over 1. So what am I doing on my bike? Okay, I'm sorry, that should be miles. So I'm riding 20 miles in 1 hour. And another way to write that is 20 mph. That's a unit rate. That means how many miles per hour am I going. Okay? So this is really just an introductory unit. And so that's all we're going to do for right now. Tomorrow we'll practice in class just dealing with rates and setting them up and simplifying them and changing regular rates into unit rates. Okay? So thank you for watching our video and welcome to Chapter 6. And this is Mr. Gunn.
Molly. Jack.
Signing out. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye.
Bye.